breaking news, the White House says discussions are now underway for Vladimir Putin to come to the White House this fall for another summit meeting with President Trump. This comes despite the administration's ongoing efforts to clean up and clarify what happened earlier this week when Presidents Trump and Putin met in Helsinki. The U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, was visibly surprised when he learned about this second summit earlier in the afternoon while sitting for a live interview. Watch this.
We have some breaking news. The White House has announced on Twitter that Vladimir Putin is coming to the White House in the fall.
Say that again?
Vladimir Putin coming
Did I hear you? Did I hear you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be special.
Let's get some analysis from our political and legal experts. And Dan Abash, he's a very, very serious, very smart former senator, former U.S. ambassador to Germany, now the top spy in the United States. He doesn't know. How is that possible that the president of the United States is inviting Putin for a second summit in a couple months in the fall over at the White House?
Because the president he works for is Donald J. Trump. That's the reason. For the same reason that this president stood next to Vladimir Putin and threw that very director of national intelligence under the bus. He later cleaned it up, but it doesn't erase what happened and the visual and the unfortunate theater of that moment in Helsinki. He also, Dan Coats said, that he didn't know that Sergei Lavrov was coming into the Oval Office at the beginning
Last
of the beginning of the administration.
The Russian foreign minister.
And a whole host of other things that he should have known. And by the way, Sergei Lavrov ended up leaking things from that meeting. You would think you want your director of national intelligence to have a say in whether or not that would be a good idea.
And even more shocking, potentially, Crystal, is the fact that he said publicly in this interview that he doesn't know what happened at the first summit 3 days ago.
Yeah, it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen the other in terms of trying to figure out which is the bigger news, because those are both huge news stories. The fact that DNI doesn't know that the Russian president has been invited to the U.S. is big. The fact that he still has no readout of a summit that happened 3 days ago between the Russian president and the president of the United States, I actually think may be a bigger deal in that what it suggests, they both suggest the same thing. There's a lack of communication, a total communication breakdown between the intelligence community as represented by Dan Coats and the White House. Is that surprising? No, particularly given Donald Trump runs the intelligence community down at every chance he gets.
Let me play the clip for you, Mark, and then we'll discuss. Listen to this.
I don't know what happened in that meeting. I think as time goes by, and the president has already mentioned some things that happened in that meeting, I think we will learn more. But that is the president's prerogative. If he had asked me how that ought to be conducted, I would have suggested a different way. But that's not my role. That's not my job. So it is what it is.
But his role, his job is to know what's going on. He's the director of national intelligence. Yes, he would have recommended that there be some note takers, a U.S. ambassador to Russia, for example, a secretary of state, a national security advisor, participating as simply not just a U.S. translator.
Yeah, but Wolf, it is what it is. According to
Well, that solves it.
what he says. No, I mean, listen, it is, I feel bad for Dan Coats today because Dan Coats put on a hot seat on some very, very, very volatile issues right now. And Wolf, a couple things, and again, just to highlight again, that really stuck out to me. I would have suggested it in a different way, meaning he's not taking my advice. It's not me. And then he goes on to say, so it is what it is, meaning what the hell can I do about this now? I don't know what to do. But what I do think is really, really telling and deeply disturbing, and I haven't heard this yet, and I was just thinking as we're talking about it, the timing of this. That tweet was put out while he was on stage at Aspen. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows in the White House, you know where your principal people are. They knew he was on stage. He was going to get that question. And you have to wonder, why did the Chief of Staff, Kelly, allow it to happen? Why did Bill Shine
Great
allow it to
point.
happen? Why did Sarah Sanders allow it to happen? Are they testing Coates? It's an interesting...
He's been pretty tested already.
I mean, I am amazed. This is, well, if you mentioned this, this is not a guy who's a Trump guy, right? Who he kind of plucked from obscurity. Dan Coates has been in the Senate twice.
Yeah.
He retired once from Indiana, came back one again. He's a serious guy who doesn't really need this. I continue to wonder this, and I'll throw John Huntsman in there too, the ambassador to Russia, but he's a former governor of Utah. These are serious people who I don't understand at what point do you reach a breaking point. Like, these are not people who need these jobs or have been made by Donald Trump and feel they owe him a loyalty. I don't know the answer to that question. But Mark's right. Why?
The only explanation I've gotten, and Laura, I want you to weigh in as well, these people are patriots.
Yes.
And they think that if they were to leave, the country could be further in trouble. And they stay despite
That's
the
terrifying.
humiliation and the embarrassment that they get. But go ahead.
That's the core of public service, because you're not actually supposed to serve the president. You're serving the actual United States of America and its longevity in the long run here. So I completely agree the idea that you are being hamstrung in your position. It's not just the shock and awe. I think you actually saw it just now, what it's like every single time the president tweets, every single time senators make a comment, that everyone's reaction is the same of, okay, I guess we're going with this nowadays. And I think when that happens, it's not just about an ego bruise. It's about your main job is to inform the president. And he won't even ask for a suggestion of what you would do next, let alone listen to it. And if you're wondering why there has been such a back and forth between his own lawyers, his personal attorneys, and the Mueller probe, do you want that sort of surprise from his team if his actual kitchen cabinet members, people who are in very prominent roles, cannot get the president to bend his ear to their very thoughtful insight?
And that's such an important point. This isn't about who's allowed in the room, who knows what. It's not about hurt feelings. It's about this position and this person and the people who work for him being there to help the president. They're supposed to coordinate for a reason, because they all are supposed to work together to benefit one another and ultimately benefit the country. So it's not about, again, bruised egos. It's about a system that is in place in order to prevent things like what happened in Helsinki.
Yeah, I give Dan Coates, by the way, a lot of credit for being as honest and as blunt as he was during that exchange earlier in the day. Stick around, guys. There's more news we're following. We're getting some new details about what President Trump learned even before he was inaugurated about Vladimir Putin's role in ordering Russia's interference in the 2016 election. Plus, more on the breaking news. The Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coates, there you see him. He's caught unaware by news of a second summit, even as he admits he doesn't know what happened during the first summit.